I'll happily admit that it was when I got around to publishing it in a much better condition than it was when I sent it off. But I actually got responses that said, brilliant, but not commercial. And they're admitting that they don't want to publish brilliant work, they want to publish commercial work. So we then need to acknowledge that the whole purpose of publishing companies is to make money. They don't care if we like the books, they just care if we buy.
Everybody, and welcome to Unfiltered Voices, the podcast that is all about busting the myth that self-published is second-rate. I'm Kelly Nissen. I'm an author coach and a self-published author, and I'll be talking to authors, illustrators, and other self-published industry professionals about their choices, their journeys, and everything in between. So stick around. Pam Swanborough, welcome to Unfiltered Voices.
Good morning, and thank you.
It's lovely to have you here, Pam. So Pam Swanborough started writing fiction in 2019 and won Best Regional Writer in the Writers Victoria Emerging Writers Competition the same year. Her stories explore imbalance, fragility, memory, and identity, and have been published in a number of journals and anthologies in Australia and in the US. Pam lives in rural Victoria and is currently working on two major writing projects while renovating a small, comfortable ruin with which she feels a natural affinity. Her dystopia survival skills include the ability to make beer and string. There'll be a use for those skills at some point, I reckon.
I feel I won't be eaten if I can provide beer and string.
Exactly, yes. Pam's 2024 debut novel, Red Gifts in the Garden of Stones, was included in the Kirkus Review Best 100 Indie Novels 2025. Now that alone, Pam, that's a massive achievement. Can you tell us more about your novel?
Yes. Funny enough, this is always the question I fall over on. I can talk about other people's novels really well. My own novel, I kind of go, oh, well, it's about some people and the thing happened. It's set in Wales in 1969 in a very small rural valley in a dying area. And it's about a family of women. The matriarch, it starts on her 100th birthday. And she is in a house with her daughter, her granddaughter, and her great-granddaughter, who was only 10. The story covers a period of 3 weeks where, due to the psychological problems of the local vicar, the very small, tight community turns on this family of women, and then other things happen as well.
Wow.
It's, I suppose, literary fiction, long sentences, but it's also magic realism. There are ghosts performing the function more or less like a Greek chorus. They just watch on and react, things like that. And there are some sort of irrational, mystical elements to it.
That's definitely a must read, I think. And congratulations too on that listing in the Kirkus Review. That's huge.
I was first of all just delighted when they told me, and then I went, well, how many books do they review a year? 33,000.
Oh, so
and I made the top. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Out of 33,000, that is huge, and this is a must-read book. I just love the premise behind it. It sounds great, and it's got ghosts in it, so you've got to win, right?
Well, it's also got a dog. I have even sold a book because I mentioned a grey cat in the prologue, and I like cats.
Excellent. Oh, something for everybody then. Absolutely. So, Pam, your influences range from Kipling to Norse sagas to Russian heavyweights to sci-fi. So when you sit down to write, which literary ghost usually turns up uninvited for you?
I didn't really have anybody in, kind of consciously over my shoulder. But when I started writing, well, the inspiration for this book is now a short story, and it's up on my website so people can read that. And it's actually the 100-year-old woman's day of her birth is the short story.
Oh.
And I was just sort of writing away, and afterwards I went, this is very Dylan Thomas. And it felt right because I was in South, and in fact I have actually been to a few parties and poetry readings in Dylan Thomas's childhood home. So it felt right that he was there. Another one that shows up a lot is Russell Hoban, who wrote an amazing science fiction book called Ridley Walker. And, I'm not thinking of these books, and I haven't read them for, some years. And then look at it afterwards and you go, I can certainly hear the influence of these writers, definitely. Yeah.
And I mean, you read writing advice for people, and they're always saying good writers also read a lot. So, and like you said, you might not be consciously thinking, I want to write a book like this person. But if you've read enough, you've been influenced by these people, it's going to come out, isn't it? So
it occurred to me just a week or so ago that, so I didn't start writing until I retired, but I've been prepping for this book for probably 60 years with all the other books I've read and the elements that stay with you as a favourite thing.
Oh,
3 years to write, 60 years to get ready for it.
That's. I think you win the prize for prepping.
Thank you.
I do know there are some authors. Kate Forsyth, for example, spends a couple of years in research and planning and writing chapter synopses and all that sort of thing, and then she said she'll sit down and she'll actually write the book in a relatively short period of time compared to the planning. So I think you're up in that category there as well. But
yes, it's not bad company.
It obviously works for you, though, that with your awards and that sort of thing. So still on the topic of inspiration, what would be the most unexpected source of inspiration you found?
Not necessarily in this book, but a bit of it. Being half asleep and long and tedious drives stuck in traffic. I certainly get that thing where I just as I wake up, the end of a sentence is just leaving my mind. So I have to kind of grab the phone, type it in like fury, and then get up and go, what was that about? And certainly some of Lizzie's actions in the story with that sort of thing. I'll just wake up going, Lizzie has been telling me she's going to do this. And of course she is, because that's who she is. And I'm currently working on a collection of microfiction, and certainly about 10 of those are just this little tag end of a conversation I've been having in my sleep or something like that.
You've got to be alert all the time, I think, don't you?
Just receptive, I guess. Yes, just because stuff is happening and stuck in traffic, so that I have nothing better to think about than de-snagging a story line or a sentence or a scene or something. Yes.
True. Yeah. So always, moral of that story is always have something to write on or to dictate into. Your memory might be better than mine. I know I'll be out walking the dogs and I'll come up with an idea or a twist or something, and by the time I've gotten home, unless I've repeated it to myself constantly on the way home, it's gone. And I sit down to try and write it, and I'm like, this wasn't as good as I thought it
was. Certainly I've pulled off on some country road and gone, just type in stuff into my phone, carry on the journey. And my family lives sort of spread across Victoria, so every now and then I do a lot of massive driving, and then I go home and do more painting and stuff like that.
No, that's fantastic. So with Red Gift, did you have a launch for that book?
Not terribly organised. I was a member of Ballarat Writers, and we suddenly decided to have a stall at Clunes Book Fair. in what is it, March 24. And I went,
Mm.
right, I will aim for having it out on that stall.
Yes.
And I think I had about 3 days leeway that the books arrived from the printers 2 or 3 days before the weekend was on.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much of a launch. And then Ballarat Mechanics Institute, which is an amazing building. I booked a talk there with a very good friend who volunteered, is my word for it, to be the questioning part of the duo. And it was like a two-handed comedy act, because we know each other and she knows the book because she'd done a bit of beta reading.
Yes.
So it was huge fun, but it wasn't terribly organised. It was a bit.
They do have to be fun though, those launches. So
yes,
and
I have since had an interview talk where the person doing the questioning had read the book but hadn't liked it. I'm going to say hadn't liked it, and also hadn't kind of really understood it. And all the questions were kind of, well, why did you do that? I don't know why you did. What was that about? I'm going, it was a bit kind of weird. Okay, And I got a couple of emails afterwards from other people who were there, and they went, that was probably not your best vehicle, but we're definitely going to buy the book.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I didn't.
They always say all, publicity, good or bad, is still publicity, right? So, if people there went, this was confusing, and I've just got to read this for myself, to find out. Well, that's a good thing, right?
That's true.
So, yeah. So,
they're just admiring that I didn't burst into tears.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been a bit of a sort of out of the blue thing, I think, wouldn't it?
Yes, it
you
was.
don't expect that.
Again, kind of ad hoc. I didn't know. Somebody else said, "Oh, I will get this person to do it." I'm, oh, lovely. And I mean, she'll be great, lovely, But no, it wasn't her thing at all, and she hadn't really kind of got into it. So the questions were mainly about, what are you talking about, instead of,
deeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh, well, chalk that one up to experience. I think I know some authors go all out with their, with their launches. Do you have a dream location for a book signing or a launch or an author event, somewhere that just would sing?
Well, so one of my works in progress is a kind of a science fiction book. So I thought International Space Station. Would that be all right? If that could be organised, that would be fab.
In a world where you can do anything you want to do, you have to dream big.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, so the International Space Station.
Yes.
Obviously, not very many people can come, and the champagne will make a total mess of the air filters. But yeah, that would be
part of the fun, right? Yeah.
And another work in progress is a book about anarchy and bringing down of power. And there's a perfume museum in Venice that I would very much like to launch it in. It's actually not set in Venice, but I can rewrite it if they'll take me.
Yes.
In the perfume museum in Venice.
Yeah. Wow.
It's one of those things you stumble on when you're kind of looking for the vaporetto stop, and kind of,
yes.
One of those medieval palaces, and the family have just owned it and kept it up for, I don't know, 600, 800 years.
Yeah.
So can't remember the name.
Amazing.
Recommend anyone going to Venice, find the perfume museum.
Oh, I needed to be talking to you in 2018. Oh dear. There's a lot of little, just little places that, with a bit of imagination, just would make the most ideal place to launch a book, I think. So.
Yes. I think, the book I'm probably going to finish next is an Aussie noir, and I've just decided to shift the setting from current day to late 40s, early 50s. And the appropriate book launch for that would be, a rundown desert town with 2 dogs and 1 barber, something like that. No one would go, but I'd have a good time going.
You can have a good time. Yeah.
I don't care. I'm so bad at this stuff.
It's all about setting an atmosphere and that sort of thing too, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
So just thinking about the whole self-publishing thing. So you've self-published Red Gifts in the Garden of Stones, and a lot of authors who start off self-publishing still have that, that dream of wanting to be traditionally published. And there's also a lot of authors that cross between both. So they've got some traditionally published, but they also self-publish for various reasons. It could be a timely thing, it could be something that they know is very niche and is not going to get picked up, or whatever, or they just can't be bothered waiting. So are you looking to dip into both with your novels? Are you looking for that traditional contract as well?
Yes, I am, because traditional publishing opens doors. The marketing is just as exhausting, and the requirements on my end would be just the same, or more or less the same. I admit I might lose control of the cover and a few things like that, but traditional publishing it just gives you more exposure. It allows you to sell in bookshops. They place you in writers' conferences and in appropriate situations where you can not only build your audience but build your network.
Yeah,
that self-publishing, those doors are still closed, and that's a real shame, because so much of what is being published is perhaps not as good as what is being self-published. I don't want to say so much. Yeah, there's an issue with quality in traditional publishing as much as there is an issue with quality in independent publishing, and no one is dealing with that. No one is looking at it.
That's true, and it is. I mean, I've said this before, and other people have said it as well, that the time has come where really we need to start looking and judging stories on the story, not on the pathway that it was published under, and that sort of thing. So, but you are absolutely right, and I think the reality is, in the current day, the current time, that traditional publishing does open doors, and it allows you to build that audience that then you can then leverage with your self-published projects as well. So, and as I know you mentioned earlier before we were recording about the Guardian top, was it the top 100 or the
Guardian top 10 for 2023?
Yes, yeah, that had self-published authors on there as well. That's actually really exciting, because those doors are often closed to people. But I think that just goes to show that there is an even playing field there, if people will just allow it to be an even playing field.
When I first sent my novel off to a few traditional publishers, it wasn't ready. I'll happily admit that it was, when I got around to publishing it, in a much better condition than it was when I sent it off. But I actually got responses that said, brilliant, but not commercial. And they're admitting that they don't want to publish brilliant work, they want to publish commercial work. So we then need to acknowledge that the whole purpose of publishing companies is to make money. They don't care if we like the books, they just care if we buy them.
Yes.
And that's how everything is in a way, but it's not giving much credit to the readers if they kind of go, well, you said you liked A, so we're giving you A Mark 2, A Mark 5, A Mark 27. Instead of going, oh, you liked A, give B a go. Have a look at, something different or something nearly the same.
Yes.
And the reading audience is being funneled into narrower and narrower experience.
Yeah, because like you said, it is all about the money, and you would know from having self-published, as we all do, it's expensive. Putting a book out there is really expensive, and it's not like the traditional publishers have a cheaper doorway to go through. It's just as expensive for them, and it's all about the sales.
Yes, I mean
So,
that's exactly it for any indie person as well. If I can't afford to get my work properly structural edited or seen by a number of eyes, and a decent cover and decent publishing quality, and then I've got to go and do some form of marketing or not. And yes, it is hard. I accept that there's a lot of white noise in all sectors of the industry to try and find the valuable or the worthwhile things in there. It's such a shame it does just come down to marketing.
It does.
And we all hate marketing.
Yeah, but the marketing, it comes down to, having a name, and will that name on that book sell the books? It's a tough market, and it's a struggling market, and we could talk about this and get more and more depressed the further we go, but we might move on. So thinking of yourself as an author, and I'm going to say a prolific author, you write widely and you publish widely. Do you have like an ultimate goal or an ultimate milestone that you're looking to achieve at some point?
It's a fairly modest one in a way, but of high maintenance. I would like to get the 4 books I have in my head out. And I would like, even better, to get them out with it, or at least one of them out with a traditional publisher.
Yeah.
I suppose another one, my ideal launch locations is probably a Netflix boardroom.
Actually, that's the other thing, isn't it? Yes. Yes.
In fact, Red Gifts itself, when I look at it, I think, oh, this is just so BBC4. They could make wonders out of my book, In fact, I've written it for BBC4. Just go and pick it up, guys.
Yes. Here you are. I'm handing it to you on a plate.
Yeah, or even Es Pedwarec, which is the Welsh SC Channel 4. But yeah, so it would. The modest goal is to get the 4 I have in my head finished, and if I'm still alive after all that, then what's next?
Yes.
But I suppose the dream is a BBC covering my book. And as you say, why dream small? It's my dream. I'll do what I like with it.
If you don't have those big goals, ultimately you're not going to strive towards them.
Yes.
And I think getting 4 books that are in your head out onto the page and published, that's no mean feat. That's not something that that you're just going to run off in the next 4 years and there you go. So that's a huge goal to have, but it's also tangible and achievable, I think.
I saw somewhere recently that although the barriers to self-publishing have really lowered, the vast majority of authors only ever produce 1 book.
Yes.
And it's so in one, the acknowledgement of success is 3 books. So I'm going to go for 4.
Overachiever. Excellent.
Well, I started late. I got to push it a bit.
Absolutely. I think maybe you started late, but you started with a bang, that's for sure. So
thank you.
Which is fantastic. So we touched on that whole issue of marketing and distribution, which are sort of linked, but the whole distribution thing is, I think, even harder than marketing because you're against a bit of a brick wall there. But you also mentioned when we were talking earlier about networking, not only sort of schmoozing it with publishers, but networking with other authors and writing communities and that sort of thing, which is not easy for everyone. It can be really difficult if you're shy, but it also can be difficult if you live rurally, as you do, in that area. What do you struggle the most with, and what are you putting in place to sort of try and overcome it?
I struggle with focus. I have to make myself write. When I'm writing, I worry that I'm not working on the house or the garden. When I'm working on the garden, I worry that I'm not working on the house or writing. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
So when it comes to marketing and distribution, I will have these kind of days of great energy and commitment, and then I forget, or I put it off because it's too hard. What I'm doing about that is basically forcing myself to get involved in things in Western Victoria, and forcing myself to do social media. And I'm great on Facebook privately, having rants about all that is wrong with the world, but I am not great on any of them publicly saying, buy my book, it's amazing. I'm actually really good at selling other people's books. I did a review for someone's book that was a better piece of fiction than the actual book. We won't tell you who it was. So if I can kind of go, this thing you need to do, just say it's somebody else's and you're just helping them out. And I think that's how I need to address it. And I write myself lists and then make myself do things.
Yeah. I get that whole, what you're saying about forcing yourself to do things, but it is really, really difficult to do. And the writing of lists, I think, is a good thing. It's something, it's there, it's in front of you. It's like, I have to do that, I've got to tick it off. Fine with me. If I know I have to do something and I know I'm going to actively forget to do it, I verbalize it to somebody else who will keep me accountable, or I'll announce it on social media and say, this is what I'm doing.
If you say, I'm going to do a book, and everyone goes, whoa, that's amazing. And you get the good feedback, you get the nice hormones. I've done that. And there is a risk you don't do the thing because you've already had the adulation from your friends. But indeed, making it public. I love a deadline. I'm so good with deadlines. Hence, got this one out for Clunes. Yes, but making it public, or I have a friend and we kind of go, right, next Friday we will talk about what writing we've done in the week. And then we go, isn't it a good week? Okay, well, next Friday we'll talk about it.
You've got to have somebody who's willing to crack the whip, I think.
Yeah, I am a Facebook friend with Samuel Delaney, science fiction writer. And he did this hysterical post once about, people ask me about writing. And he said, don't write. Just don't do it. Nobody needs more books. We have enough. Stop immediately. And then he goes, unless you cannot stop, then write your book. And that's always kind of a really good bit of advice. If I don't write the book, it doesn't matter. No one will die if I fail to write a book. And that kind of taking the pressure or the obligation that you might get yourself down about goes away. I quite like that it doesn't matter mantra.
Yes, so there's a little
but on
bit
the
of
other
pressure,
hand, it's that balance between no pressure and going, I want to do this thing.
Exactly. And it is just finding where that balance tips for you as an individual.
Yes, exactly.
I know I get people saying to me, look, how do I do this and how do I do that? And it's like, well, this is what I do and this is other advice that I've seen work and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you have to do it for you and find out what works for you. As well. So how do you overcome these things? Just do it.
Beer and string.
Yes, beer and string. There we go. Here we'd come back to that.
Always comes back to beer and string.
Beer and string. All right. So that actually interests me to see if you can incorporate that into the next answer. Not that I'm pressuring you to do that.
But no pressure. It's fine.
There have been a lot of changes recently in the, and ongoing changes for a while in the publishing industry in general, some good, some not so good. What's one change or a couple of changes that you would love to see in publishing that might benefit newer authors or emerging authors? More beer and string.
More beer, definitely more beer, or maybe less. I don't know the answer to this. I just know that everybody feels it's not right at the moment.
Mm.
And I dare say smarter and more experienced people than me are still puzzling over this. But that and it's even not to say get rid of the mediocre books, because some people like to read easy, mediocre, middle of the road books. There's always, like in music, there's always somebody who wants to listen to songs that are a little bit boring, because it suits what they need at the time. And it is quite hard, but I really feel that what is being published traditionally and what is being overlooked by ignoring indie authors is unjust to the reading audience.
Yes.
And how we deal with that, I don't know. There's a verse in Omar Khayyam, and it goes, "Our love could thou and I with fate conspire to grasp this sorry scheme of things entire. Would we not shatter it to bits and then rebuild it nearer to the heart's desire?" And that comes up in my mind so many times, that one. And Winnie the Pooh going downstairs with his head bumping on the stairs.
Yes.
And if only he'd stop bumping, he's sure there's a better way of doing this. But if he can't think because his head keeps bumping. And those two kind of bracket my whole worldview, actually.
Yeah, and that absolutely nails it, actually. We know something's not right, but we don't know what it is. And because we don't know what it is, we can't fix it.
We can't define the problem, so we can't come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I hope it'll get better. Certainly the prejudice against indie authors just for being indie authors is unjust, is unfair, and is, as I said, is not fair on the reading audience, because they're not getting to see new and interesting and diverse voices.
Yes, exactly. In a past podcast, I interviewed an author by the name of George Kiriakou, who wrote his debut memoir, If the Shoe Fits. And I asked George a similar question about what changes he'd like to see, and his was along the lines of what you've just said. He'd love to see traditional publishers giving the authors who've written something a little bit different a go. He wants to see more variety in publishing as well, which comes back to the whole money issue.
Yes.
How do we solve that?
I mean, maybe we need to just sidestep traditional publishers and replicate what publishing gives you. It's quite hard because we're a mass of amorphous individuals. But if we could somehow maybe have an indie authors writing festival in every capital city, and that opened the reading audience to quality, untraditionally sourced work.
Yeah. So it's about changing readers' views.
So yes, about changing readers' access.
And
cost is a pain. Cost is really a pain. I'm getting lots of people saying, "Oh, can we have your book on audio because I don't read anymore?" Or podcast because I haven't got time to read.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, "Yeah, sure."
Producing an audiobook is horrendously expensive if you don't want to do it with AI as well.
And I absolutely refuse to do anything with AI. Admitting that some of my photo of my own photos, manipulating them, is possible. No, it's not AI. And also, my book has got lots of Welsh words in it. The whole system would collapse. You wouldn't not know how to deal with the intonation or the pronunciation of either the Welsh accent in English or the Welsh language.
Well, I feel that we could now go down that AI tangent quite nicely, but that might be something for another interview.
At your own risk, madam. I get quite hostile about it.
Oh, so do I. So do I. I've actually cut ties with a couple of people over the issue of AI. Anyway, yes.
So have I actually, yes.
In business networking, but that's a different story. When I send out the invitation forms for people such as yourself to fill in, I have a question that asks for a catchphrase or a catchy phrase. Yours intrigues me, and I would love you to explain it. So your catchphrase was some kind of non-standard. And I'm just like, I can go down the path of going, yeah, I reckon she means this and she means this, but I actually want to hear it from you, whether this is about your books in particular or your life path, which has been quite, quite varied as well. So you went to art teachers college, but then accidentally landed in marriage. You headed over to the UK for a few months on holiday, perhaps, or working holiday, and came back 25 years later. So some kind of non-standard. What does that mean for you?
Well, catchphrase really challenged me for a bit. I looked at that question. Oh my goodness, I don't know. But then I thought that's basically my whole life experience is either not quite fitting in or not understanding that I did fit in and feeling like a bit of a fringe dweller anyway. And then, certainly. So the going to England part was in a not good relationship with an Englishman I met in Australia. And we were going to go and visit his parents for 4 months. And I just never got home. And 25 years I had to leave marriage in order to get home. And that obviously caused difficulties. My childhood wasn't easy. My marriage wasn't easy. So there's those kind of variations that not everybody wants to talk about or is interested in, or, it's different. But also my book doesn't easy. When you write a book and you want to send it to a publisher and they go, what other 3 books is it like? As well as we want a unique voice. Thanks, guys. And so I actually showed it to some librarians and to 4 of the lecturers at RMIT and said, what other 3 books is my book like? And everyone came back with, we have no idea.
Wow.
We haven't read anything like it. I went, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. And they went, no, it's not like anything that's being published at the moment. So certainly my writing feels a lot old, not a lot older than me, I'm old, but a lot older than people are writing now, even though I may be writing about science fiction and future writing. My language and my thought processes are very much rooted in my early reading, which was Victorian and earlier than that. I'm a big fan of kind of medieval poetry. Great, that's not a hot seller these days, and very early novels. So what I'm writing doesn't easily fit. The prize I won, the Best Regional Writer Prize, was literally the second story I had ever written. I went, wow, this is easy. No, it's not. But that was an untypical story for me. And it wasn't naturally the sort of story I would write in the way I put it together. But it happened to be the way they like to read. So I did okay. So it's about a dog that's been abused from the dog's point of view. And other stories I've written from the animal's point of view have not had that same reception because they're not as successful, perhaps, or not as easy for a reader to fit into. There's different things about empathy and awareness and all that stuff that's coming up in conversation. That's really great because clearly I'm some form of neurodivergent. But I'm very good at getting inside an animal's skin. And there's not a lot of audience for that. But talking to people about being able to imagine various things and that thing about the clarity of vision. Not only do I have video and 3D mental imagery, but the muscles of my body will adapt to whatever I'm thinking about. It's very unpleasant if I start to think about spiders because I'm arachnophobic, and I once kind of came very close to a spider accidentally, and I was as horrified by being that close as I would have been had I been the spider, seeing this face looming up. That was a very unpleasant moment.
But that's where your voice comes in, though, isn't it? That's your uniqueness. Publishers are always wanting fresh perspective, unique voice, blah, 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 blah. And you're giving it to them in spades. Well, they say that's what they want, whether or not they actually really want
a new way of selling what they've just sold.
Yes. Yeah.
A bit soul-destroying.
We'd like a unique voice that's fresh, as long as it's commercial.
Yes. Well, yeah, brilliant, but not commercial. Oh, yes. God, what have I done wrong?
Yeah.
And I suppose, it's like anything when we go out for a meal, people like something that might be a new twist on their favorite meal.
Yeah.
It's not wrong in a way, but when it comes to publishing and people are looking for something interesting, I haven't got many reviews. I've got fan mail. It's adorable. So cute. But, can you put online, guys, because I can't market letters on my kitchen table. But I do get people saying, oh, I've never read anything like this. One person, it's the loveliest book I've ever read.
Wow.
Which was, just fabulous. I don't even know who they were, but lovely. So you do feel that we are denying readers an experience that they're probably more open to than publishers think.
Yes.
But I suppose the marketing of something very new is more expensive than the marketing of something already there,
We could go around in circles on this all the time, that publishers think, or we think, we know what other people want. But do we really know that? If we keep providing people what they don't want, and that's the only option, is that the reason why book sales are going down? Or, is it got something to do with social media and people's attention spans shrinking and all that sort of thing? I think it's that question that, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, if somebody had written about this happening, it would have been considered to be something like science fiction.
Yes.
Dystopia.
Yes.
It is.
What a terrible future you've designed.
We're living in it now. Thank you very much.
I know.
Anyway, Pam, this has been fantastic. I've loved this conversation with you.
Thank you.
We've sort of delved into, a few different things. I'm really excited to see you get those 4 books that are in your head out there onto the page. Keep kicking those goals. But before we go, can you just let everybody know where they can find you and purchase your books, and perhaps, book you for author talks and that sort of thing?
I love author talks or panels. I did a little panel up the road a couple of months back with a couple of local authors, and me being the questioner. And it was a little tiny country pub, and we had 15 people, and it was brilliant because every single one of those 15 people wanted to talk about the books, the authors, their own work, the future. It was so good, and it was just this little middle of nowhere thing. I loved it. I am luckily the only Pam Swanborough on the internet. So, in fact, it's my married name, and I was going to go back to my maiden name, but there is already an author called Pam Evans, so that's no use. But yeah, so Pam Swanborough will bring up my own personal webpage, and my publishing identity is Two Feathers Press.
Yes.
Which got time for a quick story? I was very depressed. Mid-COVID, I was totally miserable, chatting to a very close friend online. And I was miserable about what a bad friend I was. And I said, it's a shame that you're stuck with this wit, not a decent friend. And they went, you're not a wit. Maybe I'm a wit. We're just two wits who write. And I went, two fuckwits who write is definitely my publishing house. I mean, I can't really call it that. That's just going to block all the things. So I kind of went, Two Friends is already taken, Two Feathers.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I am so glad you told that story. That is is the best thing to end on. So, yeah, just Google Pam's name, or look up Two Feathers, and I hope you get more sales, more recognition, and I hope we see more books from you, Pam. So thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you so much as well, Callie. It's been a blast. I've had a really good time.